Hello, welcome. My name is Nolafis, and today I'm going over the techniques I use when critiquing my own maps. Getting feedback from other players is one of the fastest ways of improving, but sometimes that's not always an option. Whether it's about small changes you don't want to constantly send to others or wondering how an entire map turned out, learning how to take a critical eye to your own creations is vital for building several fundamental skills, instead of just taking the opinions of other people to heart. This is where you learn to form your own thoughts and ideas on how something turned out. I'm not saying to ignore your fellow mappers, rather that it's okay to disagree about something said about your map, but you have to know why you disagree. And that's where critiquing your own maps comes in handy. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as driving your map a couple times and calling it good. You know your maps inside and out, why each block is placed and where the route is heading. Other players don't know that stuff. You'll never be able to take a fully objective look at what you've built, but there are a few techniques you can use to get as close as you can. I've split them into two main categories: the ones I use when I'm actively building and the ones I use when I'm done. I hope they help you, and without further ado, let's get started. I know I've said this a lot in the past, and I'm going to say it again. Playtest your maps. It's like this is an important step in the map building process or something. Once you place down a few blocks and add a new element, play that section over and over again to see how it feels to drive. While you're driving, though, try to pay attention to how it feels. Don't absentmindedly drive through the route. See if the new addition is a bit awkward or what line fits best. Just because you build with a specific idea in mind doesn't mean that'll be what other players do. I'm not really talking about cuts, although that's important to look for as well. Rather, let's take tech as an example. When trying to build those drifts into a map, a common problem comes when the author doesn't test different lines, and half the drifts turn into release turns. Not necessarily bad, but it can add a puzzle element that some players find annoying: which turns are drifts and which are releases. So be sure to test different approaches and crash every once in a while, so you can see what it'll be like for someone else who doesn't have the speed. A more direct tip is drive with a method you aren't used to. If you use controller, try driving with keyboard, or if you're keyboard, use your other hand. If you're a console player, try holding the controller differently. This way you won't drive your new element with the smoothness you're used to, and it can help point out if you don't give enough time to set up and stuff like that. Besides just playtesting your new element over and over again, my next tip is still to playtest, but start from the beginning every once in a while. Focusing so hard on later sections of the map can help you forget what you did in the beginning, and then going back to the start will help you see the entire map with fresher eyes. You don't want to go back too often, but once every 15 minutes or so should be fine. When you do that, don't just autopilot through the map. Pay attention to spots you crash or mess up. Was that an accident, or does the map need some tweaking to smooth it out? Unfortunately, only you can decide that. Do what feels right to you. After all, it's your map, and you should be happy with it. Those two tips are how I figure out if a route I'm working on is good or trash. I know they were basically just play test your maps, but there's a difference between playing and play testing. One, you're going through the motions trying to set the best time. The other, you're seeing if the current iteration of the map is one you're happy with. To test, you should take different lines, attempt different strategies, and keep a critical eye out for anything you don't like. If you follow these steps while building, I guarantee you'll be happier with the routes. Congrats! You're done with the map. Whether it's just with the route or full-on scenery, it's complete. However, you shouldn't be fully done. By all means, stop working on it. You've done enough, but that's my entire point. After you think you're done with the map, don't publish it right away. I know that's hard. I struggle with it too, but restrain yourself. Once a map is finally complete, if you're like me, you want to shove it out there for all to see and shower with praise. But if you're like me, you also come up with a list of a few things you would change. That list never really goes away, but the things on the list become nitpicks after a while. Once you think you're done with the map, leave it alone and let it sit. Don't tweak it, don't play it, don't touch it, don't even think about it. Preferably for about a week, but if you really can't wait, at least a couple days. Once you've had a break, then open the map again and see what you think. Giving your mind the opportunity to relax and not think about this project for a bit will let you refresh your opinion on a lot of the choices you made. Some decisions might have looked good when your head was directly in the work, but now look weird with a step back. I know for me, there's always one or two spots on my routes that don't want to come together, and when I finally have a solution, I still don't like it after a couple days. But that break has also let me come up with a couple new ideas, and those tend to work out a lot better. Unless you're in a speed mapping competition, you have time to let your ideas breathe, and you need to take advantage of it. After implementing this into my own building technique, I renamed my work in progress folder to In the Oven, because not all my maps in there I'm actively working on. Some of them are baking, waiting for the right time when they're done and ready to show off. Once you are ready to work on the map, it's time to go through the process of playtesting again, and then back in the oven to bake. If it seems like a lot of waiting, you're right. This is how I juggle working on more than one map at a time. While I'm waiting to refresh my opinions on one map, I have another one that's ready for more tweaking. That, or sometimes I play a different game entirely so I don't get burnt out. Whatever you need to do to ensure your maps make the most important person happy, yourself. But why do these things in the first place? What's wrong with posting maps as soon as you're done with them? Well, if you're happy with that, then there's nothing wrong. As always, my tips are for people looking to make more polished maps, such as for Track of the Day. And it's those types of maps where the extra time investment is where most maps go from good to great. If that's not your goal, however, then it's perfectly fine not to do these things. But I also made this video for somewhat selfish reasons. It's been a while since this has happened, so I'm not calling anyone out specifically, but it has happened in the past where someone will post their map for feedback, or sometimes ask me directly. I'll go through the map and respond through Discord, sending paragraphs of text along with a few images. After about an hour's worth of work from picking the map up to finished feedback, every once in a while I would get a response like, "Oh, I've already changed the map. Thanks for your input though." Not quite the response I was hoping for. I could understand if the person had submitted their map a few days ago, but some of these responses were sent literally a few hours after the map was posted, meaning they put their map up for feedback and then went immediately back into the editor to change things. I know people can do whatever they want with their maps, and I try to promote that attitude on my channel, but I did feel a bit disrespected. Is that the right word? I'm not sure. Anyway, I did put work into trying to provide the best feedback I could. And then for the very people who wanted feedback to say that they were changing everything anyway and that my feedback no longer applies, feels a bit bad. Maybe I'm being a bit too dramatic, but I have feelings about this, darn it. If you're not happy with the map and you have ideas on what to do about it, maybe the map isn't ready for feedback just yet. Letting the map sit for a bit and then asking for other players' opinions helps to strengthen your ideas overall and can make the feedback more impactful. That, or if you're really stuck and can't think of anything, it's a perfect time to ask other people as well. Sometimes I'll see people constantly post their map to feedback places multiple times a week, and I think these tips will help them. You don't want to overwhelm these places or people you know. The people making multiple posts per week also tend to receive less and less feedback the more updates they post. So it's also about making the most of what you get. Okay, I'm done ranting. If you're struggling to form opinions on your own creations, maybe you need to drive it a bit more. And don't just drive, play test. That means trying different lines, crashing on purpose, although I'll crash either way, trying out a different way to drive, and just generally trying to see how someone inexperienced with the map might take to it. Once you're either done or stuck, take a break from working on it. Build another map, play a different game, whatever it takes to get your mind off this map for a few days. Then take another look, make some adjustments, and repeat. Once you've exhausted this cycle, that's the perfect time for some feedback. After the whole process, I promise your finished maps will exceed your expectations. It just takes a bit of time. I hope you guys got something out of this video. If you did, I'd appreciate a like and maybe a subscribe. I'm trying my best to become a great mapper, so I'd appreciate it if you came along for the journey. If you're looking for feedback on your own maps, I'd recommend the TMA Discord, link will be in the description, as well as my own Twitch streams, Wednesday nights. I start map review at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time and go for a couple hours. I'm trying to get this video out before I travel for the holidays, so I'm letting everyone know now that there won't be a stream the Wednesday after Christmas. But nearly every other Wednesday, stop by, submit your map, and we'll let you know what we think. You can drive everyone else's maps too, give your own critiques. It's a great time. Link to my Twitch will also be in the description. Now that all the self-advertising is out of the way, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. I really do appreciate it. But now, if you'll excuse me, I have to write a letter to Santa explaining why everyone who gave me a 1-star in map review deserves a lump of coal. Bye!